All right, so let's talk about something that's been in the news recently. Well, actually, not too recent. I wanted to say something about this, but not immediately. It's been about a month since this happened, but I think it deserves real conversation. As y'all know, back in September, end of September, it was announced that Bad Bunny is going to be performing at next year's Super Bowl. And as soon as the announcement came out, the just absolute criticism and vitriol started coming out online, on the news, all over the place. And let me be honest, this criticism didn't just come from anywhere. It came mostly, and if you see the most of the criticism that's coming out about his selection is coming from conservative circles, Republicans, Christians, MAGA, the right, basically. And it's a very specific type of person and type of people who have historically reacted negatively when Latin culture or Latin music takes any kind of center or prominent stage. And the most important point that I want to make in this talk, in this podcast that I'm going to get into, is most of this backlash is not about music. It's not about language or even his talent or how long he's been in the industry. It's political, it's racial, it's cultural. And that's the main driver and the main reason that most people are criticizing his announcement. Everything else that you've been seeing about him not being American, or why can't we don't speak Spanish, we need someone who speaks English, we need an American. Those are just like surface things, surface points that are being made by people, but they're just excuses. And too many people, even the people who are defending him, are focused on surface level reasons instead of actually getting into the meat and bones and the real reasons and the real motivation behind the outrage about his upcoming performance. So I'm going to go ahead and break down some of this for you guys. So a lot of critics, immediately when he was announced, some of the things that you were hearing is like, well, why are they picking someone who's Latin? Why is he singing in Spanish? I don't speak Spanish. Why is it an American performer? And on the surface, those all might seem like reasonable things, reasonable questions. But if you stop for a second, Bad Bunny is Puerto Rican and Puerto Rico is part of the United States. So as a Puerto Rican, like all Puerto Ricans, Bad Bunny is a US citizen. So when people say, well, he's not American, or why isn't it an American artist? What they're actually saying, consciously or unconsciously, is like, why isn't he white? We don't consider Latin culture to be fully American. We don't value that. And that's where the criticism just becomes ridiculous, because it's not about music, it's not about talent, it's about disapproval, judgment of culture, representation, and identity, and their discomfort or disapproval of it. And also it's political, because the same people who will hate on Bad Bunny have been, a lot of them, criticizing him mostly because he's someone who has in the past been very outspoken politically, criticizing Trump, defending immigrants, calling out social injustices, in ways that other people would consider feminine or not masculine. And those are the people that are more vocal in saying he shouldn't be doing this. He shouldn't have been chosen. He shouldn't be performing this outrageous, blah, 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 own White House press secretary. But let's be clear, the main that people are upset is because of who Bad Bunny is, what he represents, and what he stands for. That's the reason. It's not language. It's not talent. It's not whether he has been in the music biz enough time to deserve that stage in mainstream industry. It's political, it's racial, it's cultural. Everything else is just a cover. And yes, Bad Bunny sings in Spanish. And yes, maybe that's one of the reasons that some people don't like the fact that he's been chosen, because they don't speak Spanish. But a lot are also just pretending that that's why they don't like that he was chosen. Some Americans are ignorant. They don't know that Puerto Rico is part of the United States or that Puerto Ricans are US citizens. But here's the thing: ignorance doesn't explain everything. It doesn't explain the intensity of the criticism he's received, the political framing, the political involvement of the criticism, and the dismissal of his culture and our culture. You can be ignorant and be supportive, but what's happening is actually beyond ignorance. It's just prejudice. And here's where like even more layers, out of an onion here. Bad Bunny has been outspoken on immigration, injustice, social equity. He defends undocumented communities, has spoken against ICE, has spoken against Trump, and he challenges right. And that's exactly why a lot of people are uncomfortable with him performing at the Super Bowl. It's not that they don't like the music. It's not that they don't like Spanish music or that they don't know the language. It's that they don't like his stances, his views, his politics. And they don't like that he's challenging what they are trying to create. And that just brings us to, the hypocrisy of it all, because these are the same type of people who will complain about cancel culture. They'll say that left is trying to silence voices on the right. They say that freedom of expression is under attack, that Charlie Kirk died and was killed because of his defense of freedom of expression and but here we are criticizing and trying to suppress Bad Bunny, not because of his music or his skills, but because who he is and who he represents and his views. Come on now. That is the height of hypocrisy. Bad Bunny doesn't just sing in Spanish, he celebrates his heritage openly. He embraces the culture identity in a way that challenges what's mainstream. And that's why people are upset. It's not a musical debate. It's not about, again, his how long he's been in the music industry or the fact that he sings in Spanish. It's about visibility, representation, and power. The Super Bowl is the biggest stage in the US, and who performs there sends a message. So when a Puerto Rican artist singing in Spanish embraces culture, openly criticizes political and social injustice is picked, some are going to react badly to that because it challenges their narrow view and their narrow vision of what America is. And the thing that gets me is I'm glad I've seen some people come to his defense about the fact he was chosen, but I feel like too many people who are defending him are focusing just on like the surface stuff. He's American. Don't you know he's American? He's Puerto Rican. Puerto Rico is part of America. There's other people who have spoken Spanish and have performed at the Super Bowl. And yes, all of that is true, but that's not enough, because when you only address ignorance about his citizenship or language, you miss like the larger problem. Criticism is really rooted in racism and political bias. Puerto Ricans have been U.S. citizens since 1917. They serve in wars. They contribute to American culture. And yes, culturally, I'm often treated as the outsiders. So Bad Bunny's politics trigger people. Critiquing Trump, defending immigrants, advocating for the marginalized communities. That makes people uncomfortable. So they hide by saying, well, he sings in Spanish or he's not American as justification. But in reality, again, Bunny performing at the Super Bowl, that's not a threat. It's a celebration of what America is: diverse, multilingual, culturally vibrant, politically aware, all over the spectrum. There's all kinds of diversity in America. Even the right and certain Republicans, certain people in that party, want to eliminate diversity, equity, inclusion, and history. There is a representation of millions of Americans who are underrepresented still. So here's a takeaway that I want you to get. Again, the criticism against him is not about music, language, nationality. It's about politics, race, and culture. It's rooted in bias and discomfort with representation. And ignoring that and just, focusing on English, it's not American, then you hide what this really is about, which is prejudice. So his selection, him being performed at the Super Bowl, is an opportunity to celebrate what America looks like.